listeners. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me, and a big welcome to those of you who are joining me for the first time. I started preparing my video yesterday, and as usual, I sat down and I started typing some ideas and some research that I needed to do. And about an hour later, I realized that I had just typed and typed. Something in my thoughts had sparked off feelings that I didn't even know existed. I never thought about the grammar, I never thought about the punctuation, I never thought about anything except the thoughts that were in my head. I just kept typing and I let the thoughts flow out of me onto the page, word after word after word. It was very therapeutic, but it was also quite a shocking experience for me. I hadn't realized how much blame I was holding for people who I felt had something to do with the mistakes that I'd made in my past. I read it and I reread it and tried to make sense of it. I even sent it to my sister, who I trust with my most private thoughts and feelings, and even she was shocked. Where was this coming from? What had happened is I started making a video, which was my intention to, about the mistakes we make in life and how we deal with them moving forward. And without even knowing what was happening, I started blaming everybody in my own life. Anyone who had anything to do with me not achieving what I felt I should have achieved. I blamed my parents, I blamed my friends, I blamed my schooling, and I even blamed my husband. Well, this was becoming much more than it had started out as, and the fact that it was happening at all was proof to me that I needed to stop doing what I was doing, go through what I had luckily written down or typed, analyze it and start to deal with it. Because I knew that unless I dealt with it now, it wasn't going to go away. I'm sharing this with you for only one reason, and that is to perhaps prompt you, if you're harboring feelings of blame and unforgiveness for anybody in your past, no matter how big or small the thing may be, to perhaps deal with it now. We all know that unforgiveness is physically bad for us, never mind mentally. So if this helps you to perhaps deal with your issues, well, that'll be worth it to me. And it'll be worth me sharing my feelings with you. So I was a bad student at school. I didn't study. I never finished my schooling. It doesn't really matter who I blame. It happened. And in some ways, maybe it kept me humble. Who knows? But it happened and it's in the past. At age 35, I went back to school and I finished my schooling part-time whilst working. And then after doing that, I studied a little further, which helped me improve in the job I had at the time, which was an enormous achievement to me. And I hope that somebody else, maybe who's in my position and didn't finish his or her schooling, will maybe be encouraged to do the same thing. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it. But most of all, the achievement I felt was probably more than any achievement I would have felt at age 17. So I got pregnant, married, and had a baby at 17. Well, whose fault was that? Who am I going to blame for that? Unless I blame those two young teenagers who were in love at the time. But if I'm going to call that a mistake, then I'm going to call my children a mistake. And my children are definitely my biggest achievement in my life. So there's definitely no mistake there. My early marriage, unfortunately, did end up in divorce after 28 years, but wow, who's to blame? When I think back on the type of young wife I was, I couldn't have been easy to live with either. So I can't blame my young husband for all the reasons we got divorced. And the upside to all of this is now that I'm married again for the second time, I'm probably a much nicer wife, much better wife than I ever was the first time. Because of my lack of education, I never had the type of career that commanded a high salary. With the result, with a growing family and a salary that was not growing, I was often short of enough funds to actually run my home. Things were hard come by, and it was often difficult even to put food on the table. Today, every time I come home from shopping and I pack my groceries away, I can't help it. That warm feeling is there every time, of absolute gratitude that I've got food in my cupboard. Now that has turned me into a grateful person, and that can't be a bad thing. Another thing is I had a lot of help at that time. People and family helped me. I understand how important that help is to people who need help. And it's perhaps made me a more generous person. I think I'm seeing a pattern that perhaps all my supposed mistakes might have made me a nicer person. I know I relied way too much on my mom to help me with my young children. Well, should she have refused to help me? Was she to blame for that? No, she wasn't. She did it because she wanted to help me. She saw her daughter, who was young and really didn't know what she was doing, and she did. She stepped in and helped. And you know what? That has made me, I think, a better granny. I'm much more aware today of how much help young parents need. I know, I haven't forgotten what it was like when I just needed my mom's help so badly. And whilst analysing all these feelings I had of blame, it made me think about myself as a parent and my performance as a parent. Are my children going to blame me for where I failed? Well, I certainly hope not, because I was actually doing the best that I could with what I had available to me at the time, exactly the same as my parents were doing. If you feel that you might have failed as a parent, well, there's nothing wrong with apologizing to your children for the areas that you feel you could have been better at. If that's necessary, perhaps it's just you who feels that way. And if necessary, then apologize to them. But if not, why not find the compassion and just forgive yourself? For me personally, this has been a journey that I wasn't expecting to take. I've discovered that I had some serious forgiving to do, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do this. It's shown me that we're all imperfect, we're all human, and that we need to be constantly tolerant of each other. I hope this has been meaningful to you. And if you find yourself in the position where you are harboring blame and unforgiveness for things that happened in your past, why not take this opportunity and deal with it, get it out of the way, and move on. Most of all from this, I've come to the conclusion that if I blame others, I don't stand a chance of not being blamed myself. I know that my heart is in the right place most of the time, and if I fail, it's because I'm human, not because I'm a bad person. So let's be kind, let's be tolerant of each other. Until next time, big hugs to you. Bye for now.